Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Labor Day and all that good stuff. Keep our barbecue plate pictures to a minimum, please. We don't want to see that. Here today, we will be doing our college football week one recap. And what an opening weekend it was. I am Dominic Barnes. You can catch me on Twitter at FreshieSnipes21. And with me here, as always, that guy over there. What's going on, sir?
Oh yes, I have an announcement. I see that Kirk Herbstreit went ahead and put his top four going to the college football playoff. I would like to make some breaking news that I think that TCU should be the number one seed in this college football playoff after a win against mighty Samford. I don't really know any other teams this weekend, but that team I think should be the number one seed and right now undefeated. And being a team like Samford, they should be the team to look out for. So that's my analysis. I'm mad at you, Kirk Herbstreit, for not putting TCU number one.
Wow, that's all I can say. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Of course, we have to start with Texas A&M versus South Carolina. Texas A&M pretty much destroyed South Carolina, 52-28. I mean, A&M was up 31-14 at halftime. Of course, you can't talk about a Texas A&M game without mentioning that guy, Johnny Manziel. But kudos to Kenny Hill for breaking his single game passing record by throwing for 511 yards. He was 44 for 60, so he only had 16 incompletions the whole game. And even in college, I know you throw a lot of passes, but to be that accurate and on point, even at the college level, that's still pretty phenomenal. You know, Trey Carson ran for 3 touchdowns. Malcolm Kennedy had 14 catches for 137 yards. A&M had a total of 680 total yards for the game. And considering how great South Carolina defense is supposed to be, that's pretty big. I think that was the most yards they gave up since 2007. So that says a lot. I mean, the Aggies defense will kind of be something they need to work on because at times their DBs they will get a little burnt. So they will have to work on that a little bit. But I do like Armani Watts. He had the only interception for the game, but he will be a stud if he can, continue to grow and stay and work on his craft. So I do like him on that end. I mean, South Carolina, I know Jadeveon Clowney is gone and they lost some starters on defense, but at the same time, they literally had no pass rush whatsoever. I mean, Kenny Hill had all day to throw back there. And so, I'm going to throw it to you because I know you have a lot to say, especially for the South Carolina end. So give me your thoughts on the game, sir.
I thought that Kenny Hill was incredible. He broke Johnny Manziel's debut record, actually, of throwing 500 yards, because Johnny Manziel in his debut threw for 400 yards. And I just want to give some kudos to Kevin Sumlin because he doesn't get enough credit for what he's done to change A&M's program. Because if you remember back in the day, R.C. Slocum, he could not throw the ball for whatever with his offense. They didn't know what the forward pass was, and now he's turned A&M into a juggernaut. I got a stat here that since Kevin Sumlin's come to A&M, they average 39.5 points a game and 539 yards a game. And in 6 of those games since he's been at A&M, Kevin Sumlin's offense has produced over 600 yards, and one of these being against South Carolina. So, I mean, he has really turned that program into a lot of just incredible just weapons. And Kenny Hill, his arm is incredible. It's scary how good he is with his accuracy and just the deep ball. The sky is the limit with him, I believe. And like you said, throwing for 511 yards against a team that's supposed to have a really good defense in South Carolina, that was a really good game. And I want to give A&M's run defense a little credit because they stopped Mike Davis, who is no joke. He's a speed demon, for only 15 yards on 6 carries. And their pass defense needs some work, but their run defense was very good. If they could keep that up with the run defense and keep Kenny Hill upright, they're going to be a force to reckon with. So I give A&M a lot of credit for this win because nobody picked them to win this game. So this is something that I really look forward to going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, and be on the lookout. Their tight end did get hurt, Cameron Clear, so and he didn't return to the game, so that could be a crucial injury. Just be on the lookout for that. They do have a lot of receivers, but your tight end is your security blanket when things get rough, so they should be on the lookout for that. And I mean, let's give props to Dylan Thompson. He did put up some big numbers. He threw for
Yes,
366
can't
yards and
blame
4
him.
touchdowns. Yeah, so it wasn't all on him. And the stat before we go to the next game, a stat that did really intrigue me was the Aggies were 12 and 17 on third downs, which means pretty much on most of their third downs they're getting the first anyway. So yeah, that was the interest. That was so that's like 71%. That was had a 71% completion rate for their third down conversion. So that's no small feat. Even in college, people kind of be like, well, whatever. But against South Carolina, that's pretty impressive. So I do give them a lot of props for that. So it'll be interesting to see where both teams goes after week 1. Now, next game will be Auburn versus Arkansas. Yeah, Auburn won 45-21. I mean, the second half, Auburn's defense just pretty much shut down Arkansas. Well, not pretty much. They shut them out. They scored nothing, no field goal, no touchdown, just anything. The quote-unquote story for the game was Nick Marshall was suspended for pretty much the first half for off-the-field issues. We're not going to say what it was. He did, play in the second half. But before that, let's give a lot of kudos to Jeremy Johnson, who he looked pretty good in the first half. He threw for 243 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the run game was phenomenal. I mean, they showed why they led the nation in rushing yards last year, because Cameron Artis-Payne ran for 178 yards, and he looked like he was not going to be stopped at all, and he pretty much wasn't stopped. The game was delayed for about an hour and a half due to some very inclement weather that they had, lightning and rain. And
Not Noah's Ark was on the field. It was raining so much.
yeah, and you saw it because once the game came back, that stadium looked a little empty. Everybody said,
Yeah, I can't blame them.
Yeah, plus the game was pretty much over anyway. And so I think Auburn looked impressive. I mean, they can maybe repeat as SEC champs, even though the way they got there last year was, a little questionable. They had a lot of luck, but if they continue to play at this rate, I think they can, repeat as SEC champs. Now, with that being said, Arkansas just looked horrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will say their bright spot will be that it could be their running game, man. Considering that they have a huge offensive line, their smallest offensive line is like 6'1" and 315. So if they can if they can improve the run game, then they'll be fine. But Auburn just pretty much destroyed them. And I will say that you can see how the offense has changed with Johnson in the game, and then when Marshall stepped in the game. Because in the first half, you see there was more focus on the passing than the running, but when Nick Marshall came in the game, it was more balanced. So I did notice that, but at the same time, they have 2 phenomenal quarterbacks, so it looked like it could be a good season for Auburn. What you think, sir?
Yeah, I agree with that. I was impressed with Auburn's defense in the second half, limiting, shutting out Arkansas to 0 points. And Jeremy Johnson, I'm surprised they actually let Nick Marshall in this game, because the first half he was out there just, throwing bombs and all over the field, just making the correct read. So Auburn looked very good, and I think that they're going to be a force to reckon with once again, because their defense, once it's on point, it's really something. We see the SEC this year, as we saw his first weekend. It seems like the SEC defenses are kind of down. So if they can keep Nick Marshall upright, and then they got a backup quarterback like a Jeremy Johnson who can take it, they're going to be good. And I was very impressed with them, especially with the rain delay and everything. So, yeah, look out for them, because Arkansas, they were supposed to be better this year, but they did not show it. I don't know what Brett Bielema is doing, because when he went there, they were supposed to really change that program around. They're paying him a boatload of cash. So Arkansas has to get it together, because right now it's looking like they're at the bottom of the barrel of the SEC.
All right, up next, UCLA and Virginia. UCLA should thank their defense for this victory. Final score was 28-20. And, yeah, I mean, the story, the main reason why people watched this game was to see what Brett Hundley was going to do. And to say that he wasn't impressive, to me, would be an understatement. I will give him credit. He did have a crucial 6-yard touchdown run that pretty much sealed the game. So I will give him props for that. But for, a Heisman hopeful, I mean, he just looked awful. I mean, he should thank the defense for scoring three touchdowns on defense, because if you look at the score, if it wasn't for that, they pretty much would have lost to Virginia. And so with that being said, I mean, Lambert got benched early because, you know, he was responsible for Virginia. He was responsible for throwing those 3 picks, and Matt Jones came in the game. He did look pretty good. You know, before halftime, he led them downfield for a touchdown, which kind of gave them a little bit more momentum. But kudos to Virginia defense, though, because they sacked Huntley 5 times, which is, you know, no easy thing to do considering his athletic ability. But, yeah, I mean, Virginia was 9 for 23 on third downs. It was not going to get you a lot. Jordan Payton caught 8 passes for 98 yards. So the thing that I want to talk about besides Huntley was the fact that UCLA they fumbled 4 times. And against Virginia, I mean, nothing against Virginia, but, you know, you losing 4 fumbles, that's not going to get you.
Yeah, Virginia's not a team that's trying to get to the college football playoff. They're just trying to win the season, so.
Exactly. So for UCLA to do that against Virginia, that says a lot. I know it's only, you know, the first week of the season and things like that, but at the same time, it's still unacceptable in my opinion. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it to you. What do you think about UCLA?
Yeah, I was very disappointed in how they came out. That offensive line, I don't know what they thought they were doing, because they could have just put Hundley back there and just, you know, not even had the offensive line as much as he was getting hit, and they just looked rattled. The offense was just all over the place until the end of the game, and like you said, if it weren't for the UCLA defense, they would have probably lost this game, and it would have been a huge upset because Virginia is not a good team. Their defense showed up for Virginia, but I want to give some props to Eric Kendricks, the linebacker for UCLA. He had 17 tackles and an interception for a pick 6. That guy right there was just all over the field. He was a one-man team out there on defense. He carried them, I believe, to a win. Because, like you said, Brett Hundley looked horrible. I saw people just, you know, patronizing him this weekend, but call it what it is. He did not look good. He was just scrambling because his throws were all over the place. And he's going to have to bring it, because in a couple of weeks he's playing Texas. And if you saw Texas past weekend, Chuck Strong has that team playing a whole lot better. And if he thinks that he can do that against Texas and win, no. It is not going to happen. So UCLA has, and they're in the Pac-12, which is the toughest conference in college football. Sorry, SEC. Yes, it is the Pac-12. I watch football. So Hundley's going to have to get it together in that offense. I don't know what Jim Moore did in the offseason, but this is something they're going to have to really get together.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because, like I said, I wasn't impressed at all with their offense, defense. Yeah, I was impressed, but, you know, offensively, it just looked like they had a lot of false starts. You know, it was just a lot of things that you wouldn't expect from them to do.
Just
that
sloppy.
They did.
Yeah, I mean, they can't take a week off. Their schedule is tough. It's one of the toughest in the nation, and they have to get ready for this, or they will lose 2 or 3 games if they come out with that kind of effort again.
Exactly. Now, speaking of quarterbacks who look a little rattled, Alabama beat West Virginia 33-23. 5th-year senior Blake Sims, good God, he's been there forever, got the start for Alabama. And just looking at him and looking at the game, he had a lot of underthrown passes, and he overthrew so many receivers. It was ridiculous. Like, I know, you know, you finally getting your start and all that, but that's not something you want to do. And he had a lot of, and we found out at halftime that Nick Saban said that he had called a lot of wrong formations. You know, how do you not call the right formations in the huddle? So with stuff like, yeah, exactly. So, you know, calling formations wrong. He called a couple of plays wrong. Like, and you're in the huddle and you're the quarterback. Everybody's looking at you. So luckily for Alabama that they have a phenomenal run game, because if they didn't, this game could have got out of hand. You know, Alabama is known to have those, you know, big, strong running backs. And T.J. Yeldon ran for 126 yards, and Derrick Henry ran for 113. They had a combined 288 rushing yards, which is impressive. You know, this was Lane Kiffin's introduction to, you know, Alabama's offense, leading to him. So I guess good job for him. But one thing I did notice about Alabama, which was a problem last year, special teams. Special teams has been a problem for them. They consistently let people run kickoff returns back, punt returns back, which is something that they're going to have to fix because special teams is an important aspect of the game. And so with that being said, it was just a lot going on in this game. I mean, Sims came up short on a 4th and 6 pass. They gave West Virginia a potential comeback chance, but they ended up missing the field goal, which pretty much killed any momentum that they had. Now, that Landon Collins, that hit that he laid, I can't remember the receiver, but that hit that he laid on him was pretty much killed.
I thought that guy was going to take it off with a wheelbarrow.
Yes, because he wasn't moving for a while. So a lot of props goes to him because if he would have caught that pass, that would have been the first down because West Virginia was moving down the field, like, pretty good. So with him breaking that up, that pretty much stopped any momentum that, West Virginia was getting. Alabama could not get pressure with a 4-man rush, which is not good because that means you put more pressure on your DBs. And considering that, to me, Alabama's defensive backs isn't nowhere near as good as the previous years, that could be a problem when you start playing those, those big schools and those heavy hitters. So that's something that they're going to have to work out. I will give props to Clint Trickett, who did look good throwing for 365 yards. He actually looked a little poised, going against this Alabama defense, which says a lot about him. So he can be, a good successor to the old Geno Smith era, and all that. But, I mean, kudos to West Virginia. I mean, Alabama, they looked okay, not the dominant force that you would think they would be. So it'll be interesting to watch them. What you got?
Yeah, I want to give a lot of props to West Virginia more than, I guess, blaming Alabama for the performance because Clint Trickett was really good, like you said, threw for 365 yards, and he had a lot of drop passes by his receivers. So I put a lot of blame on the receivers for them not winning this game because they had this game, I believe. Alabama looked all dysfunctional on defense, and T.J. Yeldon and Derrick Henry, they won this game for them because – like you said, Blake Sims in that first half, like, what is he doing? Overthrowing receivers. He just looked uncomfortable. I know it's his first start, but like you said, he's a 5th-year senior, so he should have a little bit more poise than that. So I agree with you. West Virginia, they came out to play, and their special team has always been good under Dana Holgorsen. So I think that they're going to be a team that's going to surprise some people in the Big 12 because they hang with Alabama, and Alabama's defense is not going to be good this year. It's just not going to be. You saw that. They're going to play a lot better offenses as far as complete with running and passing than West Virginia. So they're going to have some issues. I think that people overrate them just because of Nick Saban and everything. Remember, they lost a lot of seniors last year on defense. So they're going to have a hard time adjusting to all these new guys they have, and a lot of true freshmen, I think, are on the field this year. So, yeah, Nick Saban has his work cut out for him because West Virginia showed a lot of holes they have in their defense.
I agree with that. All right, up next we have Clemson and Georgia. Wow, another rout. Clemson pretty much got dominated. Georgia won 45-21. And good God, Todd Gurley. Considering his history with leg injuries, you wouldn't even know the way he played. He had 293 all-purpose yards. He ran, had 193 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, and that 100-yard kickoff return was just. I didn't know his speed was like that, especially considering his leg history. So kudos to him. The game was actually tied, at halftime because we was, watching that game. We were like, oh, okay, this might be a good game. But second half, all that went out the window because Georgia's defense pretty much shut Clemson out. I don't know what was going on. Hudson Mason was okay, but he didn't really do anything noteworthy. But you don't have to when you got Ty Gurley doing everything that he did. So he did get bailed out a lot with, the phenomenal player Ty Gurley. So kudos to him. Cole Stout looked okay, but the offensive line didn't really help him out. He was sacked 3 times, so he didn't really get too much of a chance with Clemson because, yeah, them Georgia Bulldogs, they was coming. And so, but the thing that I was excited for this game because I want to see Clemson's defensive line because they do have 4 starters on their line against, the offensive line of Georgia. So it didn't really it wasn't that much of a battle the second half. The first half is what I was expecting to see, honestly, because of the matchups. But once the second half started, it just looked like it was freshmen against seniors. It wasn't even close. And so now, thing for Georgia, once again, they did have some defensive back issues, which is kind of something that they've been dealing with for a while. So that's something they're going to have to work out. But when your offense is scoring 45 points, it's something you can deal with. So I'm throwing it to you what you think about Clemson and Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia, Todd Gurley, arguably the best running back in the nation. He was all over the field. Like I said, 15 carries, 198 yards, 3 touchdown passes, a kickoff return. He was everything for them. If they can keep him healthy, which is a big if, that's going to really make them a contender in the SEC because their quarterback is kind of subpar, especially now with Aaron Murray gone. So their offense is very potent if Todd Gurley can stay out there, and their defense came to play. But Clemson lost a lot of players with Sammy Watkins, Taj Boyd no longer there on offense, so they're going to rely on their defense, Clemson, in order to win games this year. But yeah, Georgia usually has an upset the first game of the year, so for good old Mark Richt to finally win a game that he's supposed to win, I'm pretty sure he's happy about that, and the people in Georgia. So kudos to Georgia for really coming out and just laying the hammer down in the second half because Todd Gurley was just a beast out there.
And the fact that Georgia held the ball for the last 5 minutes and 24 seconds of the game and didn't even give Clemson the ball back, that spoke a lot about how this game went. So,
yeah.
Like I said, a lot of props go to Georgia for that because they was on the mission that second half. All right, LSU beat Wisconsin 28-24. Now, we was watching this game. First half, we was looking like, oh, okay, well, it looked like LSU just didn't come to play. It was a lot of drop passes, a lot of underthrown passes. This game just looked like it wasn't going to go LSU way at all. But, of course, Les Miles being him. Halftime, I don't know what was said, but I'm pretty sure there was a lot of foul language involved. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, like I said, first half of this game, it wasn't looking too good. Wisconsin held LSU to only 16 rushing yards in the first half. Like, that's unheard of. And so Melvin Gordon, he did open the second half with a 63-yard run to set up, Clemens' 2-yard touchdown run with 12 minutes remaining. Gordon finished with 147 yards on 16 carries. Now, considering that Wisconsin lost 8 starters on defense, they still look pretty good, especially in the first half. Second half, not too much, but the first half they did look pretty good. Tanner McEvoy, he only threw for 50 passing yards. How do you only throw for 50 yards?
I guess you didn't know the forward pass was legal until the second half, because that's unheard of.
50 passing yards and 2 interceptions. That is, like you said, that's pretty much unheard of. LSU, like the first half, LSU had so many missed tackles. But on top of that, they end up scoring 21 unanswered points to end up giving them the victory. But I don't know, maybe it's just me, but watching them in the first half, they just looked like they was nervous or they didn't know what was going on. I don't know if the stage was too big or they just had to, get used to the bright lights or whatever. But like I said, they just looked nervous. Like they was very inconsistent. Like it was a lot of miscommunication and stuff like that. But before I throw it to you, something that really caught my eye was the fact that Melvin Gordon only carried the ball twice in the second half. Now that was very Jason Garrett-esque when it came to time and game management. But considering that he did look pretty good in the first half and y'all did have the lead, why would he only touch the ball twice? So that's something that kind of caught my eye about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw it to you. What you got?
Yeah, I want to go ahead and piggyback off of that right quick about Melvin Gordon. He had an 8.8 average per carry in the first half, and they just thought he was injured, I guess, or didn't know his name in the second half because the coach for Wisconsin went totally away from the run, and Melvin Gordon should have been just getting the ball just fed to him all second half. You are up 24-13. No reason to lose this game, and for the Badgers to just let this weak lead slip away, that's totally on them. I understand Les Miles is a great adjuster at halftime and makes great adjustments, but that's just – how do you explain that? How do you explain not giving Melvin Gordon, who is a Heisman candidate, the ball? He's your best player. You have the lead. You're supposed to run the ball. It's just elementary, basic football 101 when you have a lead to run the ball and keep the clock going. Your clock is on your side, and I'm still lost for words at how, Wisconsin choked away this game. And but I do want to give one player for LSU props. Kenny Hilliard had 93 of his 110 yards in the fourth quarter. He's always been a player that seems to just pick it up when team needs it most. And he put the team on his back in the fourth quarter and led them back. And Wisconsin, they deserve a lot of just criticism for their game plan in the second half on offense. You can't let LSU start getting momentum. We've seen them come back so many times before. And this game is on Wisconsin. I don't know what their game plan was, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that because it's the SEC and LSU. But no, this game is totally on Wisconsin for losing. They had this game all the way in control, as you said. So Melvin Gordon, I know he cannot be happy with this. I know he cannot because when he gets an open field, he's gone. We all know that. So, yeah, this is the one game that just confused me when it comes to game plan and how Wisconsin couldn't win because LSU was just getting dominated.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't even close.
Yes. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say because obviously the coach for Wisconsin doesn't know what to say either.
And to piggyback off that, they asked Melvin Gordon, why don't you think you got the ball? And he said because everybody thought he was injured because he didn't. He just pretty much disappeared. And he was like, "Nah, I feel fine. I'm not hurt. I don't know why." So it's not something you want to see in week 1 of the season, especially considering that he was pretty much carrying y'all the whole way. See, this is what baffled me. You steady passing the ball, and your quarterback isn't even looking that good.
Right, it's trying to outsmart. These coaches trying to outsmart the opponent instead of doing what works and what works well. If they're not stopping the run, why do you continue to pass the ball? Like I said, Melvin Gordon averaged 8.8 yards per carry. That's ridiculous. That's almost a first down every carry. Why are you going away from that?
Exactly. So, like I said, with that, Wisconsin, it was just all Wisconsin. They just pretty much lost this game, but we do have to give props to Les Miles because he showed he is quirky, he is goofy, but when it comes down to football, he knows what he's doing. Because that LSU went in there went to that halftime locker room with no momentum at all, heads down. Les Miles got him fired up. Like I said, scored 21 unanswered points, 128-24. So a lot of credit goes to them for bouncing back. But yeah, to me, I feel like it was more Wisconsin losing this game than LSU winning it, which is, not taking away nothing from LSU. But like I said, Wisconsin just pretty much was dominating this game, and all of a sudden they just went away with what was working and gave it to a quarterback who can't even complete a pass to save his life.
I agree.
Now, of course, we can't, not do this without talking about Florida State and Oklahoma State. It was in our backyard, in our neck of the woods. Florida State and Oklahoma State went at it. Now, first of all, I was watching college game day, and please, the overreaction for Winston was just ridiculous. Talking about that's not what Heisman candidates supposed to look like. You can't repeat, being a Heisman Trophy winner. That's how you're going to play. Look, stop it. It's week 1. Now, with that being said, Oklahoma State came to play. A lot of people thought this was going to be a rout. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that, that close to an extent. But Florida State looked good. The speed of Florida State across the field, offensively and defensively, showed a lot because Oklahoma State was trying to throw, little flats and screen pads. As soon as they threw it, lineman was already right there just waiting on it. Now, Winston, he didn't have the best game, but he came through when it mattered. And that's what you want out of your Heisman Trophy quarterback. That's what you want. And it seems like he's trying to be more of a leader now because he was real vocal. Even his in-game interview, he wasn't just doing too much. He was like, hey, it's about execution. We need to be sharp. We need to execute. That was his main thing. And you can kind of see the maturity from, last year to now. So for that, I do give him a lot of props. I know you got a lot you want to say on this game, so I'm going to throw it to you. What you got?
Yeah, I like how you said about Jameis Winston at the end of the game getting it done. He the fourth quarter, he really seems to put the team on his back and just get it done. That one pass that he threw that was just right there to Rashad Green, it was just that kind of pass that you just can't describe. It was a tight window, got it done for the first down that would keep the drive going, and he was able to get it done. He threw for 300 yards. Yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but he got that ball to Rashad Green over and over again. He had 11 receptions for 203 yards. Florida State, in the second half, they kept it together. They did not look as good, but I want to give a lot of props, like you said, to Oklahoma State. J.W. Walsh, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, looked very good. He was really using his legs. A lot of people don't know he is a very fast quarterback. He had 11 carries, 51 yards, and they were able to just keep the game close, and they came to play. I don't think we give Mike Gundy enough credit. He always seems to have his team ready to play, and the difference in this was just, I think, athleticism. Like you said, Florida State's speed was ridiculous. Now, one thing that I want to criticize this game is the officiating. There was a couple pass interference calls that should have gone against the Seminoles. I mean, they were clear pass interference, and they did not do it. If those were called, this game could have been easily won by Oklahoma State. So, like I said, the Oklahoma State's probably not as bad as people had them looking, because I know I was one of those people that thought this was going to be a blowout, so I was dead wrong. And Florida State, they came in the fourth quarter and just, it kept it going. So I do want to give kudos to Jameis Winston, because the way he plays at the end of games and the way he does reminds me of John Elway. And I know that we're not supposed to say that kind of stuff, but I'm looking at this guy for the last 2 years, so I think that he has a lot of ability, and if he just continues to improve and be a leader, like you said, the sky's the limit for him.
Exactly. I agree with that. So, like I said, I mean, you saw, and then, he got punched. Nobody got ejected. See, it was just a lot of stuff to officiate in this whole game that was real questionable. I mean, he blatantly got punched, and nothing happened. No flag, no ejection.
Yeah. I mean, it was clear as day he got punched, and I mean, the referees were right there, and I don't see how that could not have been called an automatic ejection. It was horrible officiating, and this game should have been probably won by Oklahoma State if it weren't for the horrible non-pass interference calls Florida State DBs.
Yeah, because it was a miss when, I can't remember what quarter it was in, but it would have been a touchdown, or they would have at least been set up at the 1 yard line.
Yeah, that was in the second half. Yes.
Yeah,
I think the third quarter.
Yeah, defender, obviously, he wasn't looking at the ball, and he got there way before the ball got there. Nothing. But then it would have been on Oklahoma State. Oh, they would have called it quick. So.
Oh, yeah. There's always a hidden agenda with some of these officiating. And you don't know what conference they are either. That's one thing. So,
now, I do agree with you with the J.W. Wash, but I do give him, a little backlash for trying to impersonate Winston and try to leap over his defenders, and he pretty much fumbled the ball and killed all the momentum they had.
And they were only down by 3 points at that time too.
Exactly, and they was driving down. They was driving down the field.
They were on Florida State's end of the field when that happened.
So he tried to leap over a defender, caught the ball up. Whoop. So yeah, he did play good, but that one little mistake could kind of just change everything that you did right. Unfortunately, but that's just the way it is. So, before we get out of here, I do want to say thank you, Michigan Wolverines, for avenging what happened 80 years ago against Appalachian State by pretty much destroying them. It didn't look good. Devin Gordon, he looked okay. It was against Appalachian State, so I'm not going to put too much stock in that. But as we all know, all you Notre Dame fans, don't talk to me this week. Don't say anything to me. I would suggest you unfollow me on Twitter or everything, because I have nothing to say to you. This is rivalry week. Michigan, Notre Dame. That's all I got to say. You got any closing remarks, sir?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do. I want to give props to the running back for Nebraska, Abdullah. I think he doesn't get enough credit. That guy is a machine. I know that they didn't play, a lot of a real big-time opponent, but he had over 200 yards once again this weekend. I think he's going to be a real sleeper in the Heisman race now that Braxton Miller's hurt for Ohio State. I think that Nebraska could win the Big 12. The Big 10 this year. They look really good, and I think that they're going to give Michigan State a run for their money. But, I'm pretty sure you're happy about that Michigan State's looking good this year.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Like I said, I am Dominic Barnes. You can catch me on Twitter at FreshlySnipes21. And with me here, as always, that guy right there. Go ahead and tell them where they can find you, sir.
Bryan Greer. You can always find me on Twitter at crunch_TYME.
Now, you will be able to watch this on thescoopzone.com. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel at The Scoop. You will be able to, hit us up on Google Plus as well. On Twitter, it's tweet the Scoop. So you have a lot of different ways to watch this and connect with us. We will see y'all next week. Peace.